Hi, this is the Lincoln Journal-Star editorial board endorsement interview with Kristi Egger, candidate for the Lancaster County Public Defender's Office. Kristi, thank you so much for being here with us, and you'll be doing all the talking in a moment, so we'll start off and have Kent introduce himself.
Yeah, I'm Kent Wolgamott. I'm write about arts and entertainment, and for this purpose, I've been on the editorial board for over a decade. So
there's nothing you can say that will shock him. Well, I won't go that far. So anyway, so Kristi, first off, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, why you're running to be the public defender, and where they kind of intersect will be what experiences and attributes qualify you for the office.
Well, I grew up around the Firth and Hickman area, graduated from Norris High School, went to the university for my undergrad. I majored in political science, mostly with a focus on the court system. And I took a year off to work and earn money for law school. I went to the university here, College of Law. When I was in law school, I determined, probably even before then, that I wanted to be a public defender. I grew up believing that we needed to help people, and it seemed to me that being a lawyer for the indigent and the poor people in Lancaster County was a good goal to have, and that's the goal that's been my lifelong goal. So I clerked at the Lancaster County Public Defender's Office for my last 2 years of law school, which is the time period that's allowed. And then when I graduated from law school in 1988, there wasn't an opening in the Lancaster County Public Defender's Office. So I accepted a job in Hull County in the Grand Island Public Defender's Office, worked there for a year, got called by Dennis Keefe, the then elected public defender, who asked me to come back to Lincoln. And I have been in the Lincoln Lancaster County Public Defender's Office since January of 1990. So my 32-year career here in the Lancaster County Public Defender's Office, and then a year before in Hull County. So I've been a public defender for 33 years. I retired in January to run against my boss, Joe Nigro, and I won in the primary election by a margin of about 2-1. And I am the candidate with the experience in public service in the Public Defender's Office. And I'm running because I believe that the Public Defender's Office can get back to where it was when Dennis Keefe was the elected public defender, with more organization, more personal hands-on work by myself, more cooperation, more collaboration, and working all of us hard to benefit our clients, which is our main goal. I mean, our job is to represent our clients who can't afford to hire private attorneys. And we need to do so effectively and efficiently, and do so with everyone's best interests in mind, our clients first and foremost. So.
Okay. Well, you've probably seen the voter's guide questionnaire that was sent out by our news side. So we try not to ask too many questions that repeat on that, but some of your answers there, I know that Shelley, who runs the voter's guide, requires answers to be 80 words or less.
Right.
So some people like to use this forum to get in that 81st or 82nd word. So you could probably talk for a long time on this, and so I'll kind of keep you on pace, but how do we make the justice system work better for everyone in the community? Or is it working well enough for everyone in the community right now?
Well, the cash money bond system is certainly something that we need to relook at. Poor people are unfairly dealt with by having cash bonds for minor offenses that a person of means could easily post. Say you've got a $100 bond to post, 1,010%. And a person who's poor obviously can't post that bond where it's nothing to someone with money. We end up having a lot of poor people languish in jail. They then lose their jobs, they lose their homes. Their children are negatively affected. So we need to relook at that. And that's a bigger idea or a bigger matter than the public defender's office. But I think we need to be able to testify in front of the legislature about the number of clients that we've had in jail and for how long, so that there are statistics that the legislators can look at in deciding, are we going to change this bond system? We need to be active and verbal in court with respect to bond reviews to try to help poor people get out of jail on nonviolent offenses. And so that's one thing we need to look at. We also need to do better caring for our people who suffer from mental illness and people with substance dependence issues. A lot of times, I'd say more than half of our clients have either substance abuse issues or mental health issues or a combination thereof. And we need to do better as a society caring for people. So I'd like to be more actively involved in mental health diversion and trying to get a mental health court set up like Sarpy County has. So I think that there are ways that all of us need to work together to make the criminal justice system work better. But the public defender's office is in a special position to be able to do that because of the number of cases that we deal with and the information that we can provide to those who make the laws and pay the money out. So,
well, this next question, now that I reflect on it, after listening to your answer, seems a little redundant, but maybe you can bail me out and make it sound intelligent. But the state corrections crisis obviously begins locally, and it's on the county, it happens in county and city level. So what role can the public defender's office have, and what solutions do you see to the state's corrections crisis?
A lot of those issues start with the county attorney's office, either overcharging someone or charging on particular cases that other county attorneys do not charge on. For example, minor amounts of controlled substances, the county attorney here filing them as felonies, where they don't do that in Douglas County. So people don't end up going to prison in Douglas County for minor possession charges, whereas here it's entirely possible. Residue in a pipe or in a baggie, those things can get charged as a felony here, and they most often do. And so then we're dealing with people having to fight felony charges or pleading down to a misdemeanor and then increasing their criminal history when there's really no need to do that. The judges also have a whole lot to do with the sentencing. And I think our judges need to seriously consider and take into, put to mind when they are sentencing so many people to prison here. There are so many other alternatives: probation, diversion programs, veterans court, DUI court, mental health diversion, lots of other issues and lots of other diversion programs that are available for people. If I didn't say drug court, certainly drug court. We should be letting more people into those programs. But then when those cases can't go to diversion or have some other alternative, and the cases finally go to the judges need to consider more probation for people. And that kind of supervision on a long-term basis is going to positively affect a person's life more than throwing somebody in jail or prison. So we need to think about the cost on society and the cost to taxpayers. The public defender's office, we can, as we always should be doing, advocate for our clients and advocate for the least restrictive alternative for people and try to put people in the best position by, getting them.
Oops, we lost her.
Oops.
This is a first for our editorial board interview process. Well, I think we can rest assured, Kent, that you didn't say anything to offend her. I'll just keep watching.
Yeah.
And any of our readers, here we go.
Sorry.
You're back.
Good grief. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's the first time it ever happened. And Ken and I were thinking, we hope we didn't do anything to offend you, but
no. And okay. I think I was about done with my answer to that question, unless you have a follow-up for that.
Well, I've got another question that you could go that direction too, but maybe besides some of the things that you've already mentioned, do you have other priorities if you're elected? Other projects, other things that the defender's office, public defender's office, should be looking at changing, doing, not doing?
We should relook at the numbers that we are able to deal with for caseloads. We should relook at our conflicts. Lots of times we can't do anything about the conflict cases because the Code of Ethics requires us to get out of cases where there might be a conflict with the public defender's office with our particular client. We can't have two clients charged with the same thing because they may be pointing the finger at each other or, having different possible defenses. And so conflicts, we can't reduce a whole lot, but we can relook at those and see how we're dealing with those. We can look at overload cases. That's when we have caseload standards and the court appoints us to so many cases that we can't effectively represent people because we have too many cases. We can relook at those.
When you say relook at those, is that a number that each person can handle X number of cases, and you think that number needs to be dialed down, or does the number fluctuate and you need to watch it, or what's?
I think it's something that we need to reevaluate and pay attention to. Can we do more cases? Can we save the county more money by hiring another felony attorney or another misdemeanor attorney? Private attorneys recently negotiated a price increase for their hourly wage. It's now $125 an hour for most cases that are court appointments that the court appoints when the public defender's office can't represent somebody. And in serious cases, it's $175 an hour. Typically, public defender's offices can handle cases more efficiently and cheaper than the private bar. We're also set up with investigators and mental health professionals. We have social workers and a number of paralegals, law clerks to help with research that a lot of private firms don't have. And so we should relook at how we can better serve our clients, better serve taxpayers, and possibly look at taking more cases if the county board would be willing to reevaluate their I think there's a current hold on giving us new attorneys, new hires. So I think they should relook at that with respect to the increase in the private bar wages.
All right. I have one last question. Kent usually asks a few questions, but he always asks about water policy, and you're totally off the hook on that one. So I'm eager to see what Kent does here.
Well, that last question, I was really interested in the staffing because it seems to me like your caseload has just gone up and up and up and up, and they don't add any more attorneys to handle that caseload, which then either is overworks or pushes it off to the private. And that doesn't seem to be a very efficient system. Do you think there is a real need for, as you said, maybe another felony attorney or misdemeanor attorney?
I do see a need for that, unless the county attorney's office decides to change some of their policies and allow more people into diversion, to allow people to not get filed with felony charges when they really ought to be misdemeanors or not filed. I think that there are ways that we can deal with the overload system by potentially starting with the county attorney's office. We do need another attorney. There have been attorneys added here and there, but there has been some turnover in the office lately, and we need to address the best way to serve our clients, serve the taxpayers, and then also help out the attorneys in the office, because the public defender's office is a specialized office. We deal with so many clients, so many cases, people that private attorneys can turn away if they want to. But our job is to represent those in need. And private attorneys don't really have the capability of understanding the public defender's office and our system and how we manage our cases. And just private attorneys can't deal with the bulk of cases that we deal with. And so you need that specialized look at how to work in a public defender's office and how to manage the clients and the staff and the attorneys in the office. And I've done that for 32 years here in Lincoln.
I was also struck by when you said over half of the cases, well over, are have either mental health or substance abuse issues along with them, or the clients. How is there a way that can be addressed outside of the legal system? You get where I'm going with this? If that's the issue, rather than the small crime that, right? How do you address that without tying up the courts?
Well, the county attorney's office needs to relook at how they deal with people who have mental health issues, because I did the felony docket and the mental health docket. And I have seen a lot of people with mental health issues who got a mental health commitment filed and were dealt with on the mental health board side of it, and were following either an outpatient commitment or an inpatient commitment and had that kind of supervision and treatment and counseling going on. And then the county attorney's office went ahead and filed a criminal charge against them. And so county attorney needs to relook at how they're dealing with people who suffer from a mental illness. With respect to a broader look at that, besides just the mental health commitments, we can also look at the county attorney's office being willing to let more people into mental health diversion, let more people into drug court. And that's a process, but letting more people into regular diversion for people who don't have a significant criminal history. They need to change some of their policies to make it easier for people to do diversion. And they have, as of late, made it more difficult for people to get into diversion. So we as public defenders need to keep pushing to try to get people into those diversionary programs. And you are absolutely right. We need to be trying to get people that are appropriate out of the criminal justice system, because all it does is just create that spiraling effect where it's harder and harder for them then to live in society and be able to function.
And this is just more of a personal one. I assume that your job, if you would get elected to this office, is mostly administrative, or will you still do anything in a courtroom?
I think that's an issue, isn't it?
Yeah. I plan to be in court. I plan to be in the office. I plan to be able to mentor the younger attorneys, and you really can't do that unless you're in court. You can't see what the judges are doing to clients with respect to bond and sentencings. You can't see how the judges and county attorneys are treating your staff if you're not in court. So I think it's very important that the elected public defender be in court. I'm known around the courthouse and among the private bar and the public defender's offices for having a good work ethic, and I'm a hard worker, and I can't see myself not being in court, because I'm a public defender and that's what we need to do. I think there can be a balance between the administrative and the actual in-court work, and I plan to be able to do both of those things.
And one last one. How many cases, you got to guess, how many cases that you've done over the 32 years?
I asked the office manager to run a list for me, and it's been more than 10,000 cases. So yeah.
Holy smoke.
Lots and lots and lots. Yeah. I don't know how many trials, number-wise, jury trials, bench trials, motions to suppress, who knows? But yeah, lots and lots of cases. So I have a good overview of what happens, what can happen, what to look at, you know.
So Kristi, the last question is sort of your chance to make a stump speech or tie up any loose ends, but what have we not asked you that you wish we would have?
I think that experience as a public defender is what you need if you're going to be the elected public defender. Private attorneys, like I said, deal with fewer cases. They can pick and choose their clients. So someone who's coming from the private bar is not going to be equipped to deal with what we deal with as public servants in the public defender's office. We can't send our clients away and say, no, we're not taking your case. We need to have the compassion and the dedication that public defenders have. And it's just a different mindset. It's a calling rather than just a job. And the real world experience that I have is in the real world of public defense, because that's a whole different picture than what private attorneys look at. And so I think my experience in public defender offices and being a public defender and mentoring the law clerks, mentoring students who have come with me to the crisis center to learn about the mental health system, being involved with all the aspects of the public defender's office put me in a particularly good position to be the elected public defender. And I think that experience is so, so necessary. You can't just throw someone in and expect them to understand this complex office that deals with complex cases, so many cases, and people in need. And you have to pick that. You have to make that your focus and your priority, not the money. So.
All right. Well, Kristi, thank you very much for answering our questions, spending some time with us this morning. We wish you the best in your campaign. And with that, I believe you're off the hook with the editorial board. So thanks a bunch.
Thank you very much for meeting with me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.